Hello there, my name is Virgil. I'm a sommelier in New York City and I'm here to talk about Riesling. Well, basically, it's 4 a.m. right now, I can't sleep, so I decided maybe I can discuss something about Riesling and hopefully help you guys or convince you to drink Riesling if you're not a fan of Riesling. And why Riesling? Because I find Riesling is one of the most beautiful wines, one of the most elegant, versatile wine on earth. However, Riesling also, if not probably, it's the most misunderstood white wine. Probably Chardonnay and Riesling go like head to head. And why is it misunderstood? Because often people think that Riesling is going to be sweet. When you suggest Riesling to recommend Riesling to your guests, they will say it's sweet and they don't like sweet, and which is not always the case. Second is German wine law is very complicated. So most of the Riesling we see in the market probably from Germany. And they're really complicated. And why? Because there's two different systems. So one is under the government and the other one is a group or organization of about 200 producers. So one right here, the Selbach Oster, that's the one mandated by the government, and other one right here, if you see the VDP logo, there's a little eagle right there that says VDP. It is the Verband Deutsche Qualitätsweingüter. So it's the organization of about 200 producers. And I'll try to explain this without getting too technical and using any terminology that only one professional will understand. Okay, so let's start first with Selbach Oster, since I'm already drinking this one. So Selbach Oster is under the predicate system. Predicate system is the system that based on the ripeness of the grapes. And why they created that? So the law was passed in around 1971. They created the system to be different from France. Not really specifically France, but say the France. Let's say in Burgundy. If you're in Burgundy, if you're a producer from Côte de Nuit or in Côte d'Or in general, your property has more value compared to if you're a producer from say like a Mâconnais. Say you're a new producer from Mâconnais, there's no way that you can compete from the Côte d'Or area because their area is known for producing really good wine because they're more like a terroir driven. So the Germany, they decided to create a system that based on ripeness. Why? Because Germany is in way up north. It's really cold. If you notice, in Germany, you'll only have the vineyard in mostly in the middle part to about like one closer to France is over here, closer to France basically. And because if you go up, you cannot grow wine. It's just way too cold. So they're known for producing beer than wine. And so being on a cold climate country, the quality of wine will be based on the ripeness because it's so hard to reach an optimal ripeness of grapes. So the idea is to give a chance for a new producer or little less known area in Germany to produce a good wine, a good quality wine that will base on the ripeness. So they have the predicate system. So there's the four different tier. I'll try to explain it like I mentioned without getting too crazy on terminology. So there's a four tier. So you have the Landwein and you have the Deutscher Wein. There's the bottom two is the Landwein Deutscher Wein. So you don't want to worry about those two because those two are mostly will be sold locally and consumed by locals. Qualitätswein you will see it, but not too often. Qualitätswein, and then next will be the Prädikatswein. If you see it over here, I'll try to find it for you. But you will see, if you can see, it says there Prädikatswein. So Prädikatswein will be the ripeness of the grapes. So you start from the cabinet, then you have the Spätlese, means late harvest, and you have the Auslese, and you have the Beerenauslese, and then you have Trockenbeerenauslese. The system will be based on the sugar content on the grapes, the mass density of the sugar in the grapes. And don't be confused with the sugar on grapes and sugar on wine. Remember, it is the climate, the weather responsible for the sugar in grapes. The wine is the producer, so wine producer will dictate if they want their wine to be sweet or not. And so we'll start with the classification. This one, okay. I hope you're still with me, and try not to get too crazy on this one. But you have the cabinet. This is the beginning one. This is the lightest one usually. It's still a little bit sweet. By the way, if you want to know the alcohol, if you want to get Riesling that it's dry, and it's nothing really says here if it's gonna be dry, right? Or often you will see trocken. Usually trocken, you see this means dry. You see half trocken, that means half dry, or fine herb. Half trocken, half fine herb, they're similar. They half dry. But in this case, it doesn't really. It says nothing if it's dry or sweet. To check the alcohol content. In this one, it's about 9.5. Okay, I'm just going to jump on the alcohol content over here just to get. I'm going back to the system again. So the alcohol content first. I have wine right here from Ravines from upstate New York, also Riesling, but it's from upstate New York. It says there it's dry, so you know it's gonna be dry. But even though it says dry, I will able to know if it's dry or not based on the alcohol content. This one is a 12.5. So 12.5, I know it's gonna be dry. Even without checking it, without tasting the wine, I know it's gonna be dry because the alcohol. And why is that? Because the main purpose of the yeast during the fermentation is to convert the sugar into alcohol. Well, basically alcohol and carbon dioxide. But if you let the yeast do its primary job to convert the sugar into alcohol, if you let it finish the job, you will have a dry one. If you cut the fermentation in half, in the middle, let's say your yeast is like doing its job, and you decided to cut the fermentation to stop it, to stop the yeast from working, then you will have a little bit sweetness. So the lower the alcohol is, the sweeter the wine is. The higher the alcohol, the drier it will be. Okay, so that's the alcohol. That's if you want dry, get a higher alcohol. If you want sweetness, get a lower alcohol. If you want like in the middle, get about 10% alcohol content. Riesling is known for having a good acidity to kind of balance the sweetness in a way. Okay, let's go back to the system. So cabinet means basically, technically, cabinet, like the cabinet where in the kitchen, the cabinet, because they said that the history says that the producer, they said when they harvested it's or when they produced the wine, when they ferment after the fermentation, they said it's kind of like a worthy of a cabinet, so they have to keep it in their cabinet instead of just like giving it to people. So they have the cabinet, and then after 7 days after the official harvest, you will have the spätlese. Spät means late, slese harvest, spätlese, late harvest. Then after that, it's gonna be auslese. Those three, so cabinet, spätlese, auslese, those three, they can produce it sweet or they can do it dry. Then you have the Bieren auslese and Trockenbieren auslese. The BA or Bieren auslese and Trockenbieren auslese is gonna be sweet. Ice vine is another one, as you know, it's gonna be sweet. So if you want dry, check the alcohol content and stay on the cabinet, spätlese and auslese. I'm gonna have a dry one. Possibility, like always check the alcohol content though. If it doesn't say any like trocken or half trocken or fine herb. Remember, trocken means dry, half trocken means half trocken, fine herb means half dry. Okay, so that's the classification then under the predicate system. Now we're gonna have the classification based on the VDP, the Verwandtdeutscher Fertiges Weinguter. So this one will be also, there's a fourth tier as well. So this is actually mostly kind of like same as Burgundy system, and for the same reason, they want to express that terroir. It's more like terroir driven system. So you have the goods wine, which is the lower level. So the Burgundy, you have the regional, and then you have the village, and then you have the premier cru, and you have the grand cru. In the VDP system, you have goods vine, which is the state, or this is going to be your equivalent to regional. Then you have the orts vine, which is going to be your village, and you have the Estelage, and it's going to be your premier cru, and Grosselage, that's going to be your grand cru. This one is going to be a goods vine. So it's a state one. It's a lower level. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just it's your entry level for VDP. I like the VDP more than the predicate system, because I know this one has more strict rules, and when they release the wine, how much they have to harvest, and the only fermented variety from a certain region compared to the predicate system. They, by the way, Germany produce red wine as well, so they're not solely only like producing Riesling. Okay, so they produce other white variety as well and red wine. So just heads up. And also, so okay, so that's done. I guess if you see VDP, you know it's a private organization of the producer, and if you see those like cabinet doesn't say anything, it means just the under the predicate system and government mandated. Also, you will often see over here, if it's often you'll see the eagle sign, that's a VDP, and you will see if it's Estelage or Grosselage, you'll see like it will say there, or Estelage or Ortswein or Gutswein. If you see double G in there, that means it's dry. It's also like the Grand Cru or Grosselage, it means Grosselage basically. But this means the wine's going to be dry. And Riesling in general, though, if you want to find Riesling that's really really dry, go Riesling from Australia. Riesling from Australia often dry because they harvest the Riesling really really early when the acidity is still right there in the peak. It's very age worthy, so you can age it for like several years. It actually became more like, you know, more finesse and beautiful, and has more character when a little bit like with some age going on. This one is from Finger Lakes. Finger Lakes is also known for producing Riesling. If you want a local Riesling, go get something from Finger Lakes. Washington State also produces Riesling. And I think that's all I have to tell you guys about Riesling. So drink Riesling. Riesling is beautiful. Riesling is your friend. You can have it with almost anything, and you know, make you happy. This is probably one of the favorite wine of sommeliers. So yeah, enjoy.